You know, the global race for robotic supremacy, it's way more than just a tech story. It's one of the defining contests of our time, and it's shaping everything from economic power to national security. And right at the center of it all is China, which is moving with a speed and a scale that has the entire world watching.
So that brings us to the real question, the big one we're going to tackle. In this high-stakes race, is China already unbeatable? I mean, have they built a lead that nobody else can catch?
Well, it's not quite that simple. You can't just give a straight yes or no. Like any great competition, it really depends on how you're keeping score. So let's break down that scorecard.
All right, let's get into it. We've got to start with the most powerful case for China's dominance, and that is just its absolutely breathtaking scale. We're talking about building the world's largest robot army.
Just try to wrap your head around this one stat. In 2022, China installed more than half, 50%, of all new industrial robots on the entire planet. That's more than the rest of the world combined.
And this chart, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? That massive bar for China, clocking in around 290,000 new robots in a single year, just completely dwarfs what you see from other heavy hitters like Japan and the United States. The gap is just, it's enormous.
And you have to understand, this incredible growth isn't some accident. Not at all. It's the direct result of a massive national strategy called Made in China 2025. The goal was crystal clear: pivot away from being the world's low-cost factory and become a high-tech, innovation-driven superpower. And robotics was put right at the very heart of that plan.
Okay, but here's where the story gets a lot more interesting. If this was just a numbers game, it would be over. China wins, hands down. But it's not that simple. There's a hidden weakness in this story of scale, because deploying the most robots isn't the same thing as making the best robots. So to really get this, we've got to look under the hood of the machine. Take a look at this chart. For a really high-end industrial robot, a whopping 70% of its cost and its performance comes down to just a few critical core components. The actual robot arm, the body you see, that's just a small fraction of the value. And right there, that's China's Achilles heel. Those critical, high-value parts, the precision gears, the high-performance motors, the advanced controllers, they're still overwhelmingly imported from places like Japan and Europe. And that creates a huge strategic vulnerability. It leaves their massive robotics industry totally exposed to supply chain hiccups and geopolitical tensions. So what you end up with is something we can call an innovation divide. See, China is an absolute master of applied innovation. They can take existing technologies, integrate them, and deploy them at a scale that's just incredible. But the US and its allies, they still lead in foundational innovation. That's creating the core technologies, the advanced chips, and mastering those key components from scratch. So how does this all play out in the real world? Let's take this beyond the factory floor for a minute, because when you look at specific sectors, this whole tug of war between scale and substance gets even more varied and, frankly, more interesting. Yeah, check this out. This table shows you that the winner really depends on what game you're playing. In consumer drones, for example, where rapid manufacturing is key, China's DJI is the undisputed champ. But then you look at something like high-precision surgical robotics, which relies on decades of deep research. Well, there, China's still playing catch-up. And in the really futuristic field of humanoids, they're closing the gap fast, but they haven't quite caught up to pioneers like Boston Dynamics. All right, so we've looked at the massive scale, the hidden weakness, and the mixed results across different sectors. Let's circle all the way back to that original question and try to land on a final verdict. So here's the final scorecard, if you will. On deployment volume, just sheer numbers of robots, China is the undisputed winner. No contest. But when it comes to the core technology that makes those robots tick, it's still a challenger. In foundational breakthrough innovation, it's closing the gap, but it's not there yet. And that means its global influence, while it's definitely growing, remains contested, especially in Western markets. Ultimately, this all suggests we're probably not heading for a future with one single winner. Instead, what we're likely moving toward is a multipolar robotics world. A world where China is absolutely a dominant leader in many areas, but not the sole leader. Other nations like the US, Japan, and Germany will keep leading in their own areas of expertise. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. The very idea of a race, well, it implies there's a finish line, right? But in a world where supply chains are so deeply interconnected, where you have Japanese gears powering Chinese robots that are running on American-designed software, maybe the real question isn't who wins. Maybe it's how all these different strengths are going to keep shaping our automated future together.